This is a video again about the importance of due diligence. So I've had a case recently where I was self-managing a property. I've been managing it for years. The tenant was really good. She's been there for a long time. It's maintained the property really well. She recently wanted the carpets changed, so I just got those done for her. In hindsight, I should have used a better carpet fitter. I didn't have the best feeling about this one, but I took a chance on him. But that's a slightly separate issue. It still works, but it could be better. As I've been self-managing this for a while, I did this because I previously took it back from an agency. The previous agency went out of business, and towards the end of their operation, their managing standards were really dropping quite a bit. This led me to issues. The agency was then sold to another agency, and I raised issues with the management. And for me to exit the management contract, the initial agency would have charged me £800. This is far less than ideal. Some agents do this. I don't think it's great practice. My current agent, who do look after things very well, do not have anything like this in their contract. So if you're ever getting a property managed by an agency, just make sure you read the small print. If you decide to stop using their services, then they can apply this exit fee. But anyway, the initial agency who were managing the property sold it to another agency. During this time, an EICR had to be done, and EICRs, as you may know, are a legal requirement when you're renting out a property. I bought this house in 2014. It was previously not a rental property, but the person living there had looked after it well, but I get the impression she was there for years. And EICRs are not really legal requirements if this is your residential home. So I think there was some lapse in standards. There was another time when the gas engineer refused to certify a gas-powered fire in the living room. This was almost going to cause issues, but it had to be cut off, which is alright because the tenant wasn't really using it. But as I got an EICR done a few years ago while it was being rented to a tenant, I had to dig into the issue because I have now given this property to my current agent as part of a deal they've offered me, and they've pointed out the fact that the EICR I was provided with a few years ago was marked as unsatisfactory. Much of the work was done, but overall the result came out unsatisfactory, so I had to dig into the issue, and I found the previous agent I had paid over £800 for remedial work to be done in order to get the electrics up to date and certified, but I then could not find any evidence of the EICR being updated. So I asked the agency about this. They said they had nothing on record. I then had to try and contact the electrician myself. So I've tried it in a few different ways. I've tried from the website, I've tried via phone, I've tried via email. I'm not getting any responses. I do think the electrician was supposed to be reputable. The initial agency had used this electrician for 20 years, but I'm now being informed by my current agent that it was not legal to rent the property out in this manner. So even though the agent was previously fully managing the property, and I haven't had this issue before with the agent, it appears I'm in a situation where the EICR was deemed unsatisfactory. Remedial work was done, which I paid £800 for, but then there's no proof that the EICR came back up to standard. So I now either have to get this certification, contact the company and find out if it was ever done. If not, I'll have to get a new EICR done, and this will be at extra expense because this should all have been done by the previous electrician. So had there been any electrical issues in these last few years, or any inspections or anything were carried out, then technically this property should not have been rented out, because although the work had been done to make changes to the electrics, there is technically no proof that the electrics are up to standard. This serves to exemplify the kind of risks you face in property. Even when properties are fully managed, the agency prior to the one I'm using now were good for the most part, but again this shows a slip up in the processes, and no matter how good the agency are, the landlord's liable for something like this. So I'm seeking to remedy this situation. Hopefully I'll get the updated EICR. If not, I'll have to pay for it, which is less than ideal. But this has only been highlighted to me now when I'm getting the property remanaged again. As mentioned, the tenant was good. The property was no real trouble. I was managing it myself. But you see, as I've put this property up now with a reputable agent, they've noticed errors in compliance, which I could have got into a lot of trouble for. Plus they'll do the rental markups at the right time, in the right way, within the right ranges. As the tenant had been there for years, I'd not really marked up the rent year on year. And this is often important to do because when you come up for a buy-to-let remortgage, the property price will have gone up, but the rent needs to go up correspondingly as well. So if the capital appreciation has worked and the property is increased in value, when you remortgage on a buy-to-let property, then you cannot pull out the money to use for your next purchase if the rent is not high enough, because this rent needs to be high enough to justify the increase in the mortgage. So this is also a very risky issue. It cuts you out of potentially using thousands of pounds from the increase in value of your property in order to fund your next purchases. And this can all happen if you're too nice to tenants and you don't increase the rent in accordance with market rates. Obviously you don't want to hike the rents, but as long as they're increased fairly and lawfully, then this should be the way things are done. Overall, this is another case of where I was self-managing the property. Everything seemed to be ticking along until the new agent noticed the error in compliance and the fact that the rent had not been increased enough. So even if you think you're getting away with managing a property easily, it takes a good agent to realise that there are a few chinks in the armour that need to be rectified in order to be fully compliant, and this can save a huge headache and potential legal issues down the line. Thanks for listening. Let me know if you need any help in your property endeavours. See you next time.